So without further ado, I want to give you a quick introduction to the goddess that is Manisha Ramdhin, who I met a couple of years ago at an event, and she totally blew my mind with her amazing personality, her stunning beauty, as you'll see, and obviously her life experience that she's going to share with us today. She is a successful businesswoman, a mother of two beautiful boys, and she's also a fitness enthusiast. But beyond that, you guys are going to hear the story of how she came from pain to where she is at the moment of power. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Manisha Ramdhin.
Hello, everyone. Lovely to meet all of you. Thank you so much for making time and space for me.
Great. And so, Manisha, without putting you on the spotlight, this month is Women's Month, and it shouldn't just be this month. It should be every single day, every single year that we celebrate women and women that have gone through pain and healing very much like you have, and to recognize your accomplishments. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, give our listeners a bit about yourself, who you are and what is it that you do.
Okay, so during the day, I actually work as an accountant, but I'm really passionate about working with women. I am a businesswoman. I also have a global online coaching business because that is my passion. And when I ask myself, why did certain things happen in my life? It's so that I can help other people. So it does, it's given me my life purpose.
And so you mentioned that you're a businesswoman. So give us a little bit more insight into what exactly is it that you do. And obviously I'm going to give you an opportunity later to sort of just promote yourself, but why not use that now? What is it exactly that you do for the woman?
Okay. So a large part of the market really sees the fitness journey which I've undergone, where every time I had a child, I lost 33 kgs. I was just stubborn enough to lose it. And so I do the fitness coaching, which is the one side, but the more powerful side is the life coaching side. What's going on in South Africa at the moment, 1 in every 3 women are raped. And, that's not even all the unreported cases. So the more I speak out, the more people communicate with me. And so the work that I have to do is really massive. And the more powerful is the healing of the feminine. Not even young girls and also just women.
All right, wonderful. So now obviously we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of this discussion, and by all means, the idea is not to shock and put people in awe, but to just really highlight the journey that you've been through. So when I first met you, one of the things that I found out that was obviously not only horrific, but just amazed as to how you came out of it, is that you were gang raped when you were a teenager. Do you want to give us a bit of insight as to what happened during that time?
Okay, so when I think back, it was actually the night before. I had a fight with my dad, and I didn't know how to manage this anger. And a large part of it always goes back to that night, because I thought that was the worst night. And it was because I didn't know how to manage my anger that it actually caused the worst night. So I called a friend. Okay, before all of that, I tried to slit my wrist or cut myself, but it was too sore. And so I called a friend, and I didn't know, any of the events that were going to occur after that. I was underage, and I was just so angry, and I didn't know what to do. So I just wanted to get drunk, but I couldn't obviously afford to go into a store and get it. So I asked him to get it. When he came to drop it off at my house that night, then he said, you can't drink alone. And I fell for it. So we just kind of sat outside where my house is. And then, much later, he called his 2 friends. But by that time, I was already very drunk, because I actually hadn't even drank much for most of my life. And so probably I don't know whether my drink was spiked, but after that, I just completely blocked out. And then I actually blocked out the incident for the next 14 years. I knew that at that moment, I wasn't strong enough to handle the remarks from everyone. I was ashamed, I was embarrassed, but more than that, there was a lot going on in our home where my dad was actually an alcoholic. And I just, thought to myself, he's drinking because he can't manage what's happening in his life. And how is he going to manage that? And how am I going to manage with um, the remarks of everyone? I think it's more the opinions of other people, what the community will say, what family will say, what friends will say. And too often I've watched what happened, to girls who report it, and they actually get accused and the treatment, and there's no real support for them. And so it was all of those things that I knew I wasn't strong enough to handle then. And even looking back now, I really feel I made the best decision by not telling anyone for 14 years. Thereafter, when I was 28 years old, so I've always held on to this dream that no matter what happens, I'm going to help other people because I have to have a voice. And when I asked why did it happen to me, it's so that I can protect those that do not have a voice. And so I actually went to become a life coach, but there was this one exercise that we had to do where you had to scream at the top of your voice, and then the people in your circle, they rate you. And I could not get past a 3, and we had to go to 10. And that actually meant that I was suppressing all my emotions. And then that was the first time that I actually realized that I have to start dealing with everything that I had buried for all of these years. So in a nutshell, that's what happened.
Okay, no, and obviously, like you said, you carried that burden for 14 years of your life before confronting it and then eventually dealing with it. So maybe give us some insight into your process of dealing with it, and and how you got from there to where you are today.
Okay, so I always say that I was actually one of the lucky ones. And, although our house was really crazy, I mean, both my parents have bipolar, and at one stage, both of them were drinking. They are recovered, and, they're fine now. And both of them, they got me into reading really early. So I turned to books, and books became my solace. And I could have easily turned to drinking. I mean, I had my drinking phases, the teenage years and trying to forget. But every time I did, the memories would come flooding back. So that didn't actually help it. There were 3 books which were really instrumental in helping me. And the one was Mind Power by John Kehoe. So I held on to the words in that book, specifically, anything the mind can conceive and believe, it is forced to achieve. That became my mantra. I would repeat that whenever these memories would come flooding back to me. And then another one is Dr. DeMartini, the breakthrough experience, where you actually have to go back to all your traumatic events and you actually find all the good that came from it. And, when I speak about this to my mom, she's like, how can you look back and find good that came out of it? Like, what happened is absolutely disgusting and it's terrible. And, but the point where I'm at now, I can actually look back at it and say, it's honestly one of the best things because my purpose was born in that moment. And I'm being the voice and helping so many other people in the process. It's given me my fighting spirit. I'm very stubborn. I don't ever give up. And, even with regards to my fitness goals, whenever I think of giving up, then I think of this moment. And I think that, in that moment, I was held down while they took turns to rape me. And I can remember saying no. So it's that moment that always gets replayed in my mind. And I'm like, if you don't do this, these rapists have won. And so I've used it in a very positive way, to bring about and to affect others positively and just inspire and motivate them to be the best that they can be, no matter what obstacles they may face. I also studied successful people, autobiographies. And then there was also a lady called Alison who actually was raped, but her intestines were taken out. So I looked at these people and I said, yes, what happened to me was really bad, but there's so many people with so many worse stories. So you know what? Just suck it up and deal with it. So, and then I also went through loads of seminars, loads of workshops, and that's actually where I met you, at a workshop.
And absolutely, and it was obviously serendipity that we have met, and we came from very different backgrounds, and yeah, very much like you said, we connected on a very spiritual level, got on very well, and I think we've maintained, and we were just discussing it before this, we've maintained that friendship, very platonic friendship, for the last better part of the decade, I suppose, eh?
Yes, almost 7 years, hey?
There we go. So it's very interesting.
When you were still in your 30s.
Absolutely. Now, don't give my age away. But anyway, that's besides the point. Is very interesting that we spoke about this, and when we met, you were obviously the fitness enthusiast, and you were talking about that's very much a masculine energy, whereas now you've moved on more towards a feminine energy. Go into a bit more detail about that.
That's actually, yes, I've been working with the feminine energy for the last 2 months. And I've been working with the masculine energy for the last 8 years. My transformation in the last 2 months, working with the feminine energy in terms of my soul development, has been so much more than in my last 8 years. And it just makes me realize that as females, we are so powerful. We honestly are the connection to the cosmos. We birth beings, and we just have suppressed a lot for so long. And yeah, the feminine energy is the creativeness, it's the dancing, it's the flow, it's allowing. The masculine energy is the fitness and the running, which I've been doing. And I've always said running is my therapy. And it's amazing, and it served me for all this time. But the moment I stepped into the feminine energy, and this is the thing, you can't have one without the other. There has to be a balance of both. But the feminine energy is just, and we are emotional beings, we are vibrational beings. It's allowing and feeling, and it's that connection to everyone and everything in the universe. So yeah, that's really been such a transformation.
That's great, Manisha. Thank you for elaborating on that. So maybe, just maybe to give your viewers, to the listeners, a bit of an insight, I mean, there are quite a few social media posts of you losing a lot of weight, obviously post-birth, you had all the baby fat as such, and then losing all of that, and not in once, but twice. And I think more, I think it's a third time, right, that you're going through. And, give us some of your, secrets and disciplines, very briefly, and this is more for my interest, as to how did you accomplish this? I mean, what was it that drove you? What led you to the results that you got? And then, taking that, how are you using those kind of habits and disciplines now with your new sort of using it with the feminine energy? Can you elaborate a bit more on that, please?
Sure. I actually, just to sum it up, I've got 3 simple rules, and it's everything you know already. So 1, it's eat more. And usually when I say this, they're like, what? And yes, eat more, but everything natural and everything that's good for you, everything that God has provided. And 2, drink more water. And 3, move more. So by moving more, yes, you can do the physical activity, you can do the fitness, you can do the running, but moving more is also dancing. And so I've never actually been a dancer, but I have been attempting for the last 2 months. And so I've been finding that a mixture of this is actually the ideal. And there's a lot of bigger women that I work with. So I've had one client who's lost 53 kgs. It's taken her a whole year, but she's stuck it out. And this is from eating more food. But because she was so much heavier, she obviously didn't run, and she was not so much into the weight. But what she did love doing is dancing. And so we really, it's about finding what works for the person and fitting it into their lifestyle. And no one wants to follow a diet forever. So it's about making it enjoyable. So in a nutshell, those are the three things.
Perfect, and that's wonderful to hear. And it's really just nice to take a break away from, this month is about GBV, but it's always nice to take a break away from, something which is so violent and something sometimes so disturbing, and you can focus on things that are just for you, whether it's your health, spending time with your family, reading a good book. And that's what I was trying to drive at. But going on to the more serious nature of GBV, obviously that your experience of being gang raped was quite horrific. And as much as you've grown and sort of healed from it, what advice would you give for people out there? And when I say people, both men and women, what advice would you give them so that they never get into a situation? And I say never with a pinch of salt, because never is very hard to predict. What advice could you give, sort of young people out there so they never get into such a situation?
Okay, so it's all about emotion. And, all emotions just need to be felt, to be acknowledged, to be heard. Mm-hmm. So from a young age, from kids, women and men, we all need to be taught that it's okay to feel certain things and to acknowledge when there's sadness, to acknowledge when there's anger, when there's jealousy or whatever. If you remember, one of the first things I said is I didn't know how to handle my emotion.
Yes.
So when you feel rage, how are you releasing it? And now I've been able to channel it into creativity. I think in like paintings, and it comes out in my writing. I'm a writer, and then the dancing, or you can just go for a run. So if you learn to channel that into something productive or positive. But it's actually a process where you mentally think about it. So the thing that you're angry, and you allow yourself that space to be angry. So not to suppress it as I did for 14 years. It served me, then, and yes, I was able to go through it, but the ideal way would be to acknowledge your emotions.
Yeah, and that makes a very, very, makes perfect sense actually. But, there's a common saying that, even though it's perfect sense and common sense, it's not always common practice. And I think more so, especially for men, men are typically the ones who suppress emotions, and it might come out when it does release, comes out in a very violent and destructive way. And just so that as a preview, next week we do have a special guest who is going to be talking about men and how men can assist with the problem of GBV. But it's always nice to hear from your perspective, and it sounds like it really is about, trying to find space to release those emotions. So thank you for sharing that with us. Okay.
Pleasure.
So, I think we've gone through all the questions that we had originally set out to sort of answer. And, there's a lot of other stuff that have come up. I think one of the questions that have come up from the group is, and if you don't mind me reading it to you, is how does a teen deal with an instance of rape? As an adult, it took you 14 years to deal with. But with social media and shaming, this has become an immediate reality for teens. What would you say to them as teenagers?
One, to communicate and to talk about it, even through the difficult. But again, in saying that, our support systems aren't enough, even for adults, even worse for children. It's not a safe place. It is judged. I think we are very far away from it being safe. Even the rape crisis units. And this is a large part of what I'm doing at the moment, is trying to raise awareness for this. I used to work at the victim support unit, as a volunteer. But again, a lot of the times in the poorer township areas, they are actually raped even at those centers. So you're going in to report a rape, and then you are raped. So yeah, we've got massive work to do, and there needs to be a lot more awareness from a mother, you know, who has 2 sons. I think every mother, you know, needs that to instill those strong values in how to treat women. Growing up in townships, you know, there aren't proper role models. Who do they model themselves against? You know, children learn what they live. So better support systems need to be in place, and currently it's very far from that.
For sure, and absolutely. And I think, you know, kids, like you said, model what they see at home, or, you know, they pick up from different media. So I think, just answering the question, it is about, as you summed it up, about communication, you know, trying to invoke communication. So that is, yeah, I think it's a lot more complicated than that as well. And I think, you know, me trying to remember being a teenager, how complicated it was, and trying to work through not only emotions and hormones, but yeah, the added complexity of social media and bullying. You know, I think bullying's become a big issue for a lot of kids these days, more so as such. And, you know, with the bullying, the shaming, and it's not just bullying in the traditional sense of physical bullying, it's also emotional bullying, it's cyberbullying. It's, you know, it has become a bit of a monster on its own. And unfortunately, because I deal with bullying cases, it isn't a criminal case as such until it becomes physical. So maybe it is something we need to address, you know, right from the homes, where we start saying, look, bullying isn't right, you know, because later on in life, it can get you in a lot of trouble, if not with the law, then with the people that are around you. So I hope that sort of answers the question in terms of what was asked. Just hold on. We have a couple more people coming in now, and I think it's because I did broadcast on Facebook saying that we had technical difficulties. If people wanted to join them, it's coming via Zoom. So we are getting a few more people joining us. So guys, while you guys are listening, there is a lot of time still to ask Manisha any questions. And as much as it is about GBV, Manisha is a wealth of knowledge, not only from her spiritual journey of healing, but also as a fitness enthusiast, as you heard. So you're welcome to ask. I'd like to invite, on behalf of Manisha, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask her, please do. We're going to be carrying on as we do normally. But is there anything else you'd like to bring up during the session, Manisha?
Can I just say one thing?
Please do.
There's also a stigma with, you know, the culture and say the Indian community. Like that's what I was scared about. And when I was actually gang raped, it was one, a colored guy, a black guy, and an Indian guy. So it's really strange that it was 3 different cultures. You know, it really seems like it is part of a grander master plan, you know, where I am the voice, and, you know, for all of that. There was also the fear thereafter, because there were a couple incidents. There were, you know, I didn't tell anyone, and so they were still in the community, you know, and I don't know if this happened to other people, you know. The one ended up committing suicide, but before that there was, I was scared to even just be alone in my own house when my parents left me while they went to gym.
Sure.
And, you know, the incidents where they would, you know, throw things, make phone calls in the middle of the night. So again, just living in fear. So that is another issue, is the fear of, you know, telling anyone, and also, you know, just the blame with regards to it, because as a girl, you know, it's like, well, why did you call him in the first place, you know? But when it comes down to it, even if you called someone, you did not ask to be raped, and you did not ask to be treated in that way.
Absolutely.
And it's taken me a long time to come to that, because for a large part, 60% I blamed myself, 30% I blamed my dad for the fight the night before, and the 10% was actually the rapist, you know. And that was how it felt, you know, for most of my life, until I'm older and I can process things and I can look back.
Right.
So I think a large part is the self-blame.
Absolutely. And so do you still blame yourself, or what were the techniques that you used to sort of not blame yourself anymore? What did you do?
Um, I had a regression where I had to relive the events, and then I was able to see both sides, so the duality of the situation. And even though I stopped blaming myself, I still have done a lot of work on self-worth because it comes out in other areas. And yeah, that's a difficult one. Knowing your worth, knowing your value. Um, I've worked a lot even during COVID-19 on this issue, and that is a lot of what I do to help young children as well.
Right. So a question's come up in terms of, when you had those flashbacks of the incidents. Well, what kind of techniques would you recommend for people that have been through an ordeal like that and they have these flashbacks? What kind of techniques would you recommend to help them deal with it and obviously heal from it?
Okay. The most useful thing is the book that I mentioned, the Dr. DeMartini, because we can actually go back and heal any memory that we have.
Mhm.
So your mind stores things in drawers and according to what's easiest for it to remember. So you need to go back to that incident. And like I said, I mean, I found out all the good that came from it. So then it equalizes it. So it's more where you are the observer observing it. You see the good, you see the bad, because everything, there is that dual nature.
Mhm.
And now I can look back and there is no charge. Like I can talk about it without um, breaking out into tears,
Mm.
and I can talk about it with confidence because I've processed it. But when it first happened, and maybe for the first 5 years, every time I would even start to talk about it, I would like close up, speak with a quieter voice. And so it would mean going back and healing it until there is no charge.
Okay. So, and just to reiterate, what was the book's name again?
Dr. DeMartini wrote it, and it's The Breakthrough Experience.
Breakthrough experience. Okay. I think I've seen a lot of the advertisements for it, but I'm glad it was a profound breakthrough for you, and being pivotal in helping you heal from your experience. So that's great. Okay, so just give us some other insight. I mean, we're way ahead of time, and we do I'm very rarely get to talk to you, and we do have a couple of people that are still online listening to you intently. What else would you like to share in terms of the whole experience, your sort of your journey of healing, and even now, what is it going forward? What does the world hold, and what will Manisha be offering to the world in terms of what you can do to help other people that might have gone through this? What is it that you would like to share with, or offer them as such?
Okay, so for all of you, whenever you're watching, I've actually got a free gift. And the free gift is actually a 7 days free with, it's called Map for Life. I have been using this tool for the past 20 years. It helps you analyze every single area of your life, and the same things that I did in fitness, okay, where you set certain goals and you achieve them. Imagine if you can do that in every single area of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the more powerful thing that I do, where it's about balance in your spirituality, in your family, in your career, in fitness, in social. And, we're always at different spaces with all of this. And in the beginning, you do this assessment where you have this wheel. And mine used to be completely out. And I thought, like, wow, I've got some work to do. And, there was one area on there which was your charity, or what are you doing for, helping others. And at that time, I was 19 years old and I wasn't doing anything. And I looked at that and it was naught. And I was like, oh, I have to start helping. And that's actually why I started volunteering. And I started volunteering. I did that for 3 years. And when I started working with people less fortunate than myself, it actually made me realize that I am so lucky. And yes, I might have gotten raped, but there's so many people in worse off situations, and there's so much one can do. And Map for Life is, you know, the book, The Secret and the Law of Attraction and all of that,
Right.
which makes it dreamy and in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Map for Life is actually your action plan to achieving all of your dreams. So it works it out what you're on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
And the first step is getting to know yourself. What are your values? And when I did this when I was 19, I wrote down that I want to inspire and motivate others to realize and achieve their dreams, no matter what they may face. And yeah, I put some crazy dreams in there, like bungee jumping and skydiving and belly dancing, and you know, and I've been to about 25 different countries, and I set out to live this amazing life. And I was ticking all of my boxes, and then that's when, you know, I realized I'm actually living this facade. I'm busy creating this life, you know, and ticking all these boxes, but am I happy inside? And what is going to make me happy inside, you know? And part of it was the healing, and part of it is helping people. So we're always on this journey called life, and it is exciting and it's crazy, and there's always going to be obstacles and there's always going to be challenges. But you got to look at what's on your plate right now, and what do you really want? What does your soul ask of you? You know, what is the dreams that you had when you were 9, 10, 11, 12? What are the things that make you happy? What is it that makes you joyful? And then you've got to do more of that and do it every single day. I make sure that I dance every day. I make sure that I spend time with my kids, because family is my highest value. There's crazy moments and things don't always go according to plan, you know, with work and whatever. But you know, the main thing is that you're taking action toward your goals, because it's pointless just it floating around in your head and you're thinking you haven't achieved all of these things. You know, write it down. And what I'm big on is a vision board. And I mean, I do all of this free, you know, in my groups, because I really believe, I mean, if you Google it, you can get any of this information. But having a vision is important. You know, someone at book club once said to me, "Oh, I don't understand how sticking a bunch of things down on a piece of paper is going to get you to your goal." And I looked at her and I said, "You know what? This is how I get everything in my life." And our mind works with pictures. So if you know how your mind works, you know, that is the tool. Get a picture, you know, and it helps you to just focus. And not just focus, but then put it in your reality and do the action daily. And that's exactly the same technique we do with regards to fitness, where, you know, you have a year planner and you're tracking. And not tracking to see, okay, how many days you haven't worked out, but it's more every single day to celebrate your win. You know, every single day when you drank your water, because often we look at it and we're like, okay, I didn't do this and I didn't do this, and oh, I shouldn't have eaten that piece of cake. But you don't look at all the things that you have been doing. And, you know, in knowing all of this, to my coach in this last week, I was complaining to her, and I'm like, oh, you know, I haven't even seen any losses and I don't feel like I've lost. And she put 2 pictures next to each other. You know, it's only like 3 weeks apart. And she's like, what are you moaning about? And I realized, you know, that's exactly how we are. And even me knowing all that I know and been through transformations, we want instant success. And sometimes we're just not prepared to do the work. And it's just about being patient. And it's about tracking your progress and putting one foot in front of the other and just making things happen. And what I've also recently learned is just support. You know, if you have this vision of yourself, the right people will show up to support you. And it doesn't always mean you needing money, you know, to sign up with coaches or whatever. if you look on social media, there's so many people with free stuff which they're giving off, their value, their resources, follow them. Look, for you can search for anything, and that there's so much we're living in the information age. Everything is there. It really is just dependent on you being so clear about what you want, and then you going after it and not letting anyone stop you. Because
Absolutely.
often your friends, they're the ones who want to keep you in the same place because they're used to the you that they see in front of you. And sometimes it means fighting against all of that. I can go on talking forever, so just stop me.
And I could listen forever, but yeah, that's great though. And I think, just listening to you, and it really does highlight the fact that you really are on a journey and still on that journey. You've healed from a lot, but you've gone past the healing. You passed the part of healing now, and you're working towards, succeeding even further. And that for me is a great accomplishment, and it's admirable, and it's so motivational, it's so inspiring. And that's why I say, you could talk forever and I'd still be listening to you, because I really, from the very first time I met you, there was such a inspiration and motivational energy that I felt from you, and it was born out of fire as such. You be healed, and those scars of fire have really, sort of forged you into the person that you are. So yeah, that's me getting all soppy. So I do apologize for that part. But I do have a question.
Yeah.
There is another question, and I think you have sort of answered it indirectly previously. And the question basically, as a parent, how has your incident changed your parenting style? And the incident refers to, obviously, the gang rape.
I don't think it's a coincidence that I have boys. I really think it's to right, whatever wrongs have happened, and to be this. Yeah, this is the thing now. I've actually been stepping into the masculine role because I'm a single mom, so I play mom and dad. And so it's been really tough to be that softer feminine, because you got to be the disciplinarian. And if you're not the strong one, who are they going to learn from? I can't afford, it's the boundaries, and you have to have boundaries. Children actually learn more from boundaries, and boundaries from a young age, starting from the 2-year-old. My boys are 3 and 8. So, the testing boundaries start at this age. And if we don't sort this out now, can you imagine when they're teenagers? And so, if anything, it's just made me even stronger. But I do need to tap more into the feminine for that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I have a 5-year-old, as you know, and just sharing that, having the boundaries is definitely a big thing for kids. And having both a masculine and feminine energy or figure there, it's so important for their development. So I know you're a single mom, but at the same time you have to bring in both of those energies to be able to raise these fine young men as they will become one day. So congratulations and well done to you. You're doing a great job so far, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're pretty much done with time in that sense. And the last 15 minutes of these sessions are traditionally, well, not traditionally, since it's only been one, have been for Q&As. So, I'm appealing to the guys that are on our Zoom session. If you have any other questions, and again, you guys have an exclusive with Manisha today, because it was supposed to have gone live on Facebook, where I could actually track any other questions. But thanks to the technical issues, I haven't been able to go live. So it's a bit disappointing, but I will post this interview onto Facebook. I'm still debating whether to edit it or not, but it's been a great interview, very, very insightful from my perspective, and I hope so for all the listeners. So guys, last call, if there aren't any other questions, basically you got another 2 minutes while I waffle, and if you have anything, please type it out. If you want to come online, you're welcome to. But Manisha, it's been a wonderful conversation with you, and I think we haven't had one of these for a long time. I think every time we do meet, we talk about business, which is unusual, right? We talk about our plans for what we've been up to and what we're doing, but we never have a heart-to-heart like this. And I'm I'm grateful for the opportunity to have gotten to know you even more so in the last 7 years. So thank you for that.
Only a pleasure. I have been more vocal in the past month or two.
Yes.
I think also because the TV show is going to be airing in October.
Oh,
and so
a bit more information on that, just by the way.
Okay, cool.
Are you allowed to?
So the TV show,
before we contravene any contracts, are you allowed to? Okay.
Yeah, you can actually post a link to check out the trailer.
Yes.
It's called Thrivers. Yeah, it's called Thrivers, and 8 people were chosen from different parts of the world, mainly South Africa, but also Canada and wherever. And we got to live in Swellendam, which is the 3rd oldest town in South Africa, and helping communities and making people's dreams come true. I was chosen because of my personal, powerful story and also what's going on in South Africa. But it aims to make millions of dreams come true because it's the story of unconditional love. And the tattoos which I have on my wrists over here, it's in Chinese, can you see? I have to say, one says love, one says fear. That's what they told me. Okay. And that's basically a reminder that no matter what happens is to always act from a place of love. And, you know, it's difficult when someone is verbally abusing you to come from a place of love. And yet if you do, you completely turn around the whole situation. So a lot of the work that I do is with women, abused women, not just rape, but also stuck in marriages and being controlled by finances and money, and aren't able to do anything else because, you know, we need money to get out of that situation. So yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we look. I've one looking forward to this series. It's called Thrivers, like you said, and I will post the link to sort of the trailer that you mentioned. And yeah, I think just for the viewers, I will be posting all Manisha's sort of contact details. If anybody wants to get in touch with Manisha, the workshop that she does, you know, whether it's fitness or spiritual healing, or just, you know, sort of connecting with her. You know, she's a wonderful person. Yeah, you know, it's been rewarding on my side just knowing her. So, you know, to all the people that are listening, please go ahead and try to connect with her as well. And if she accepts you as a friend, of course. Okay, I'm being very facetious. I do apologize. I'll scrap that for now. All right, guys. So if there's no other questions, thank you so much for joining us and joining Manisha, of course, in her journey. And you know, from all of us, Manisha, thank you for sharing your story with us. It has been very touching. You know, obviously, I found myself, I don't know about all the other guys, but finding myself going through a whole range of emotions, you know, from being angry to, you know, sort of feeling pity for you, to being, you know, in love with you, to just, you know, it's such a roller coaster of emotions, just sharing your story and your journey. And I don't know if you can hear it, but there's actually a tremble in my voice. And okay, never mind, I'm not going to cry. But the idea is really, it is such a touching story. And for you to, you know, come out successful from it really is, you know, a heartwarming story for any woman that's going through any kind of abuse. So thank you for sharing that with us. Okay.
Only a pleasure, Warren.
Great. All right. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I am going to start just, you know, putting everybody back into the waiting room if you don't. Manisha, just stay hang 10 while we chat online. But to everybody else, thank you for joining us. Please connect with Manisha. I will send her details later. And please keep up the good fight, guys. It is Women's Month. Both men and women have a responsibility to do something about it, to change the sort of the current narrative of, you know, gender-based violence in our country, not only around the country. We're about a pin drop in the entire world. We have to do something. This is my attempt at trying to give back, and hopefully, you know, there will be some other initiatives after this. Thank you again, and I'll chat to you. Hopefully, see everybody again next week for our next interview. Thanks, everybody. Take care.